All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me. Well, so much is happening today, as a matter of fact, and let's go to our first item because we are going to talk about, coming up in a few minutes, Zoran Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani. And being the New York mayor-elect, he will take office in January. And what this means and what kind of dude is this anyway? That speech that he gave the other night was far less than amicable to the people who have elected him, as well as the people around him with whom he has to deal and make nice in order to do his job well. And he's already begging for money. So I just will go over that with my friend. I say my friend, Robert Spencer. I'm a colleague of his over at PJ Media, but he does a million other things. He's the author of 34 books, and his latest book is really amazing, and it is Intifada on the Hudson, the story behind the selling of Zoran Mamdani. So he will be by in just a little bit to talk about his book, but I do want to find out a little bit more information on a breaking story, I believe, and it is this. It is, thankfully, the indispensable woman, Katie Davis Gort, has brought our attention to an issue from the Homeland Security with respect to Portland, Antifa, and the ICE building there. Now, of course, Portland, the city of Portland, has been trying to get these guys to take all the stuff off the windows and all that jazz. So anyway, Katie reports that what they've done is federal rules and regulations for conduct on federal property have gone into effect. And you know, and I know, California and Chicago and Portland and Seattle, you ICE guys, you can't wear any masks. You can't wear any masks. We don't want you to have any because you're trying to avoid us doxing you and threatening the wife and children. And, like what they've done to Tom Homan. Tom Homan has basically he has moved out. He has sent his wife and children elsewhere. And he has decided that he's going to live in a secure house, because he doesn't want anything to happen to his family. The violence against ICE agents and other federal officers doing this mission have gone up 8,000%. So now what we have here is the effort to out and dox ICE officers themselves. And then Portland has decided that the plywood over the windows to protect said Fed officers must be removed, because after all, this is a tenant issue, and ICE, you didn't ask if you could border up these windows. And we talked about that the other day, just with respect to the federal building and the Marco Hatfield federal building, and they've got permanent things over the windows there. And apparently that's not an issue, but it is for the ICE building. So I think that's really interesting. You've got all these entities, these different cities, counties, states saying you ICE agents, you Border Patrol agents cannot hide your face, notwithstanding the fact that they have death threats. And you cannot have boarded up windows. We've got to be able to see inside and to be able to direct our weapons at you. So now the Department of Homeland Security has come up with another plan. And as Katie notes, the agents at the ICE facility in Portland notified protesters that there's a new policy regarding concealing identities behind facial coverings, and it's gone into effect today instead of waiting until January. Wearing a mask on and or near federal property is now prohibited. Excuse me. Hang on. I just sent something flying. Oh, well, it's prohibited. Wearing a mask on or near federal property is prohibited, allowing federal agents to apprehend subjects on suspicion that laws have been violated or may have been violated. So there is your probable cause right there, a reasonable suspicion. And they will use that level of proof in order so that they de facto are breaking the law and they can roll them up right there. Okay, so here's how the rules write. Okay, prohibited conduct. This is the one that Katie Daviscourt drew our attention to. Golly, wow, I can't even talk. Hold on. All persons are prohibited from engaging, share this tab. All persons are prohibited from engaging in the following conduct on federal property or in areas outside of federal property that affects, threatens, or endangers federal property or persons on the federal property. Okay, no fighting, disorderly conduct, harassing, intimidating, threatening, or other violent behavior, lewd acts, or inappropriate disposal of feces, urine, and other bodily fluids, because we all know that that's part of the arsenal that the Antifa, black blockers, and all people do. That's part of their deal. Wearing a mask, hood, disguise, or device that conceals the evident identity, of the wearer when attempting to avoid detection or identification while violating any federal or state or local ordinance or regulation. You can't do it. Creating a loud or unusual noise, noxious odor, the fart machines, or other nuisance. Obstructing the usual use, enjoyment, or access to federal property, including but not limited to the use of entrances, exits, exterior plazas, areas, courtyards, foyers, lobbies, corridors, offices, elevators, escalators, stairways, parking lots, garages, loading docks, and areas on federal property designated as closed during an emergency. Impeding or disrupting the security inspection process administered by security personnel. The people who are on the ICE property, in the case of Portland, which the protesters at Portland ICE have been told, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, here are the new rules, and by virtue of doing that on public property, we will arrest you. If they feel so inclined, okay? And even if it's a local ordinance, which I think is interesting. And so camping, you can't camp. Camping, except in designated areas and as expressly authorized by a facility security committee, designated official, or federal agency responsible for the property. Golly, this is just trespassing, entering, or remaining in or upon areas closed to public. No go. No way, Jose. Consuming tobacco products within 25 feet of doorways and air intake ducts under the custody, control, or jurisdiction of the federal government they can't do that. But the big one, chief among them, besides disorderly conduct, no masks, no hood, no disguise. That would be the Teletubbies are out. Teletubbies out. Portland ICE, under the auspices of the Department of Homeland Security, have issued forth new rules. And those rules go in effect today. Antifa has been notified. Antifa may not wear masks or anything else over their faces, including their Teletubby outfits. And if they do, and they are on or near, these are the the verbs or the words that are being used. These are the words. If they do that on the property or near the property, they'll be arrested. I mean, doesn't it pretty much preclude everything Antifa does down there? I mean, you can't use the fart machines. You can't use untoward noises. That includes you too, Tommy boy, I'm afraid. But that has to be on or near the property, so it just depends. Maybe it's a block away or whatever. They've of course ousted Tommy boy down there. So, no hood, no mask, device or disguise. Then to disguise, check it out. The Portland ICE and federal officers under the auspices of the DHS say, Teletubbies, you're out of there. You know, you nutters who put on the outfits and ice or roller skate, you're out. If you are wearing a mask, a disguise, a hood, you're done. You'll be arrested. Bye, Antifa. That's what that means. Oh, there's more here too. So check it out. So I went down to alcoholic beverages because, Honey Badger Mom has told me that, remember the encampment that was down there? Encampment had lots of alcohol there. And people were drunk a lot, okay? And I'm not talking about the right-wingers. I'm talking about the nutballs, the Antifa nutballs. And they were drunk. And, you can't be drunk in public. And this, of course, has been going on for months down there. And, of course, the Portland Police Bureau, the UNIC unit at the Portland Police Bureau, especially those police officers wearing the white shirts, who are the dialogue officers, never cite anybody for being jacked up or drunk. And as we learned from Tuesday's episode of the Adult in the Room podcast, they're usually high on something. Meth, they're tweaking, they're not probably doing fentanyl, because how do you function with fentanyl? But anyway, they're high. And maybe they got a lot of weed in that safe house, Chandler's safe house down the street, number 152. So any person or federal property is prohibited from either consuming or otherwise being under the influence of alcoholic beverages, possessing an open container of alcohol, or operating a vehicle while under the influence of alcohol. The exception being the head of the occupant agency for the designee in a space where the alcohol is to be served may be granted a written exemption. So if they're having a federal party in there, they can do it, but you can't because you're not inside the building and there's no exemption for you. But if you're outside the building and you're just on your heels and you're drunk, bye. High, drunk. So not only do the Portland and ICE people tell Antifa that they can't cover their faces anywhere around near the Portland ICE facility anymore, they can't wear their Teletubby outfits. They can't wear those ridiculous costumes they've been, using for a while. They can't do any of it. Why? Because it assumes they assume that they are trying to avoid prosecution and are assumed to be trying to break the law. And so doing, they will be arrested. Now, I'm sure it'll be tested, but okay. How many months before that happens? Antifa. So not only have they gotten Antifa unmasked and the Teletubbies unteletubbied, and your frogs unfrogged, they will arrest people who continue to do it. But in addition to that, Antifa can't be drunk either, and neither can anyone else around there, which I find very interesting. If you're going to get rid of Antifa, if you were going to find a diabolical way in which you could roll those bad actors up and send them off to make little rocks out of big rocks, it would be an occasion like this, where you get them for their masks, you get them for their noise machines, their fart machines, all the other stuff in their arsenal that they bring to the Portland ICE facility. And There you go. That's pretty genius. And then no firearms, dangerous weapons or explosives on or around the property. Everybody's strapped down there. Good guys and the bad guys. Not the cops, though. Just kidding. I'm sure there are some. They have their sticks or something. What do the dialogue officers carry? What does the UNIC unit patrol of the Portland Police Bureau carry? Do they just do the sticks, or do they have any firearms? What do they carry? Just zappers? Tasers? Well, no one else can carry that stuff around or on federal property. And if you do, you're going to be arrested. That is probable cause for immediate arrest. It is reasonable suspicion. Slightly lower gradation under which one could be arrested, but there you are. Interesting, right? And hey, don't bring your dogs. They don't want them on the property or around. You know, here's the thing. I have not seen a lot of dogs down there. I hope that they're not there. For example, if I still had my Moby or my Maxie, both of which were, one was a bull mastiff, the other one was an English mastiff, I'd bring them down. In fact, I did bring Maxie down to an old protest. It was the fur protests of the 2012s or something. And the cop actually asked me, is that dog dangerous? I don't know. Don't try anything, though. Okay. So pretty interesting, no? I think this is very interesting. And so big news out of Portland. What can I tell you? The other thing that's going on, and we're going to unpack that a little bit more as well, but I'm going to talk to my colleague, Robert Spencer. And we'll bring him on, and we will talk about his new book. But I have to give you the opening of his speech the other night before I bring Robert on. It's important because this speech I think it really rivaled Joe Biden's red speech. Remember he did that in Philadelphia with the Marines right next to him and the red light and, you kids get off my lawn, you mean Trump people. And I'm going to throw the book at him. And of course, we all know what he's been doing against them as well. Here he is.
Over our city this evening. But as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
Oh, can he?
For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power.
Oh, brother, what a lie. What a lie. Yeah. So that was the big news out of the week. Of course, the Republicans, to the extent that they were involved in any of these blue state elections, lost just big time. And part of the reason was the excitement caused by Zoran Mamdani. So how does a man who touted Intifada, worldwide Intifada, global Intifada, and communistic beliefs in Islamism get elected to be mayor of a city that 25 years ago was devastated by a jihadist Islamic attack? How does that man who cozies up to one of the orchestrators of the guy who knew, unindicted co-conspirator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, which has a direct through line to 2001 attack, how does that guy get elected with Jewish support or any Western civilizational support whatsoever? I mean, who does that? Well, the folks in New York showed us the way. You just sort of cover your eyes, hold your nose, and you go, well, I'm going to go with the guy who's going to give me a lot of free stuff. So Robert Spencer, oh gosh, I didn't realize how late I was in getting him on. Robert Spencer's a dogged researcher. He's an elegant writer, director of Jihad Watch, And he is a Shillman Fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center and the author of more than 30 books, the latest of which he's going to talk about right now. In fact, Intifada on the Hudson, the selling of Zoran Mamdani, is one that you will want to get and read it, because this is an important book, and we're very, very happy to have him on. He's a very busy man, so I appreciate him doing that. And there we are. So I'm going to find my stuff here and bring him on right now. Robert Spencer, how are you?
Hey, Victoria. Good to see you.
It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking your time to come on here.
Thank you.
Here we are. We got some crazy stuff going on here, and I've got lots of segments of his speech that we can talk about, but I wanted to give you, the expert on this guy, the floor to tell us what just happened.
Well, you were right. New York voted for free stuff. They haven't really thought this through. They don't really take seriously how dangerous it is that they've elected a more or less open Marxist, as well as a, I'm sorry, I'm hearing myself back a little.
Are you? Oh, boo. Okay. Take it off. Take it off.
Without the.
I think, I guess, I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And we'll see if we'll sort of navigate the echoes and stuff.
Okay.
I just want everybody to know Robert does this all the time. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So
that means I got to concentrate. Mamdani, where were we? He was, They don't
free
care
stuff
about that he's a Marxist, because half of them are Marxists anyway in New York, but also they don't really realize how different that is from the kind of governance that they've had already. They have elected de Blasio, who is also a Marxist.
Yes.
They figure that really it doesn't matter, because the worst aspects of Marxism he won't be able to implement anyway. You need gulags and walls around the city for that. And so it's not really a problem. And they don't realize that he can drive the city into bankruptcy, cause all the people who own businesses to flee, destroy the tax base entirely, destroy the city ultimately, because nobody's going to be there to hire anybody. And so they, like I say, they haven't really thought this through, but that's the way the left always is. I'm sorry I'm going on long, but one other
Please,
thing.
We have time.
Because he quotes, he gets right up there and he quotes Eugene Debs, the socialist leader from the early 20th century. And I was thinking about Eugene Debs, and I was thinking, isn't it funny that in New York in 2025, Eugene Debs is getting a big hand?
I know.
The thing about Eugene, though, is that he's a real good model socialist for 2025, because he was a victim. He went to prison for opposing World War I, and he suffered a great deal in prison, and he's sort of a martyr for socialism and for the freedom of speech. And so the left loves him, of course, to this day. But also, you have to say, Eugene Debs became a socialist before Lenin, before Stalin, before Mao, before Democratic Kampuchea. He didn't see the gulags and the mass death and the destruction of the economy. And so it's kind of funny that Zoran Mamdani is quoting this guy and lionizing him now, when we have, this is 100 years later.
That's such a good point.
Socialism does. And yet he's still selling it as if it were 100 years ago.
I was thinking about that, because I remember in college I heard about Eugene Debs and Emma Goldman, and how they were fellow anarchists, and how her friends and her part of the gang assassinated, and one of her acolytes assassinated William McKinley.
Yep.
And just, hello, doesn't anybody know anything about what's going on, these movements in America's history before? And I just couldn't come away from this experience of this election this week without thinking about how little civics we teach, and anything having to do with a positive appreciation for Western civilization.
That's right. And so it's not just that they don't know the bloody history of socialism and communism, but also most of the voters in New York City don't have any idea why a capitalist system is better than socialism and why socialism is doomed to failure. They don't have any idea. And so they pull the lever for this guy because there he is. He's young, he's handsome, he's got a nice smile. He doesn't have a sexual harassment record a mile long like Andrew Cuomo. There you go.
Yeah, I want you to listen to something. This is just a mind blower. You probably you've seen it, but this was reaction to his election on Tuesday night by some of his acolytes in New York, all of whom are women. Check it out.
Law starts now. Absolutely. Zoran Mamdani, Islamic Caliphate, our brother in Islam, Islamic Caliphate of New York starts today, baby.
God, there is just something so electric, so satisfying about knowing that my MAGA parents, wherever they are probably having a horrible night tonight. Oh, I literally just got goosebumps thinking about it. Like they are in such a bad mood probably about the fact that Zoran just won and Prop 50 is gonna pass. Like, wow. God, I'm sorry. It just makes me feel good that my MAGA parents are probably upset right now.
When the day starts with Dick Cheney being dead, it ends with Mamdani winning. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
So happy.
What a weirdo. Here's some B-roll for those girls to watch. Explain why they're wrong, Robert.
Well, yeah, they don't have any idea what's coming. They don't know that these pictures you're showing now is their future. And they don't know that they're enabling it. But they've already lost. I mean, I was thinking when I was watching that, what a shame. You know, why does that girl hate her parents so much?
Yeah, same thing I was thinking.
And the other one saying, it's so great Dick Cheney is dead. I'm no fan of Dick Cheney, but to rejoice in a man's death, where is these people moral? They have lost all their moral compass.
What is wrong?
I think that it's 20 years of leftist indoctrination, as well as the fact that they don't have any religion. They are only oriented toward this life. They don't understand anything beyond this earth. And they think, well, Dick Cheney did bad things, and so we should rejoice in his death.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I say, they've lost all their moral compass. This is why we get Zoran Mamdani as mayor of New York.
Yeah. Would you say it's just nihilism?
Yeah, to a great degree. I mean, it's tribalism also. You know, tribalism combined with nihilism, because they don't really know. If you asked any of those girls in that video, what is it exactly that you favor about Mamdani's policies vis-a-vis those of Andrew Cuomo or any other mayor of New York in the past? They wouldn't be able to tell you. They just know he's the young guy and he's the cool guy. He's in their group. And the other people are not in their group. The old corruptocrat Cuomo is not one of their guys.
Mm-hmm.
So just their voting tribe.
You know, there was a couple of things I wanted to roll past you with respect to Mom Donnie's speech the other night. Here, listen to this and tell me what this means. Oh, I think sure, Vic.
Or as we say on Steinway, ana minkum wa ilaykum. Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas.
Why is it so? It's always the Mexican abuelas.
Taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses.
I haven't heard that one before.
Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties.
Trinidadian line cooks.
What's that?
Trinidadian line cooks. I'm sure that's a very good.
Who's back? He also gave a shout out to the SEIU.
Nobody's American. Notice.
Yeah. Nehru.
They're all from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really have an America. He's a socialist internationalist. So he is celebrating that they're all from somewhere else because that's what he wants. And that's actually what elected him. You know, if you take only native New Yorkers, he lost. But people who've been here gotten here over the last 20 years and moved into New York City, they elected him. And so they're his core following. And that's what he wants to celebrate, the dissolution of any kind of American identity, any sense of American unity, except what is he's going to oppose with his authoritarian vision. That, he also, do you have this one in the, I'm jumping ahead, I suppose, a little bit.
You can do whatever you want, Robert. I'm just glad you're here.
Well, it's wild because I just wrote an article for PJ, turned it in a few minutes before this. Another part of the speech where he says we're going to prove that there's no problem too large for the government to solve and no issue too small for the government to tackle. And I thought that's a total call for totalitarianism.
Yep.
The government is involved in every aspect of your life with no respite anywhere.
He says it in this cut, and he also uses in this cut the notion of Islamophobia. Let's see if this is the correct one.
Will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election?
Who wrote this? CARE?
The CARE is the biggest internet institution in town.
Will be defined by a competence and a compassion that have too long been placed at odds with one another. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
There you go.
Yeah.
The phobia thing, that is, it's something he tried to hang on Cuomo for nothing. There were two big incidents. One was a campaign flyer where they put on the flyer, there was a scary picture of Mamdani. And, we've all seen campaign flyers. They make the other guy look bad with the lighting. And so they made him look bad with the lighting. But Mamdani's group made a big deal of it, said, look, they darkened his skin and made his beard bigger. They were just increasing the contrast in the shadow. But Mamdani charged that this was this terrible Islamophobic flyer from the Cuomo campaign.
Oh, interesting. We've seen that. We know that they do that, right? For different people. Like, for example, all of a sudden, whether you love him or hate him, Donald Trump is orange. I mean, he's not always orange. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
They exaggerate his spray tan. They make that a big deal. And Cuomo did exactly the same thing. He just did, it was probably a standard photo, what do you call it? A filter or something.
Yeah.
Or when you try to make somebody look bad.
Right.
And, Mamdani made a big issue of it. And then Cuomo last couple weeks ago was on a show on WABC where the host said something like he's pro-terrorism. And Cuomo says, well, yeah, there's so many problems with this guy. The kind of thing that people say on shows when they don't want to agree, but they don't want to disagree.
Yeah, well, he accepted the premise, so that was
Yeah, there you go. It was a big instance of Islamophobia on the part of Cuomo. And Cuomo was put on the defensive both times, which I thought, the guy's a savvy politician, part of the machine for decades. Why is he being so wrong-footed by this guy? It would have been easy to say, well, you don't condemn, globalize the Intifada. You've spoken Hamas rhetoric about Israel. You've spoken about the jihad against India in favorable terms. Why should we think you're a terrorist?
Yeah.
Or a sympathizer? But of course, he doesn't have the courage to do that because Islamophobia is like the third rail. You can't touch anything coming even close to it or you'll be destroyed.
Well, do you think that's still the case? It used to be when CARE made up the word and started distributing it, and people, well, we can't say anything about a person who happens to be Muslim, who's obviously Islamist, who then becomes a jihadi and then bombs something without harkening back to the fact that, hey, there might be something in common with other people who have the same crazy viewpoint. And yeah,
I think that it's not as powerful as it used to be.
Right.
People like the late great Charlie Kirk did a lot to change that because Charlie was right toward the end of his life very forthright about the nature of Islam and how it posed a threat. And he didn't start getting canceled everywhere as he would have just a few years before. But I think an old dinosaur like Andrew Cuomo, he still shies away from it.
Yeah, it's just a fear. You've got to be able to speak clearly, speak the truth. Islamic, I think he called it superiority, supremacism, excuse me. So, that's a huge case, a very compelling case can be made for that use, that phrase, Islamic supremacism. If I could say it, I mean, that would be really pretty good. I want you to react to this. I'm sure you've seen, I know you know everything because you are, you're the Jihad Watch director. I mean, you know so much and you've been at this forever.
Yes.
How many?
600.
600. Yes, I understand that. Yes, I've been there too. So here we go. Here we go. I'm sure you've seen it.
We found out that he's Jewish. His mother was Jewish. His grandmother was Jewish. So, Mr. Mayor,
that's Mamdani sitting there.
I find out very soon that he's Jewish. Don't hang out with me. So, welcome to our community. And I want to tell you about Rabbi Indig. Not when your numbers were up, when Adams dropped out. First day he called me up and said, I like this guy, and I'm going to meet him no matter what the consequences are. He called me after he met you, he told me, this guy is a friend of the Jewish people. It's real, it's sincere, and I believe it's going to be the best.
Oh, he's going to eat those words.
All the way.
Okay, it's really hard to hear because it was in a place where it was very public and there was a lot of ambient sound. What do you think?
Well, in the first place, actually, I have not seen that before, so I got to ask you: was that the Neturei Karta guys?
I don't know. Well, I don't know the hats.
They're common to several groups, but there is a group of Orthodox Hasidic Jews called Neturei Karta, and they are very much against Israel. Only the Messiah can establish a state of Israel, and so the state of Israel that exists now was started by secular people. It has no legitimacy, and they go very far with this. They support the Palestinian Jihad. They support Iran. And most of the other Jewish groups, especially the Orthodox, think they're totally nuts. And I can't imagine any other Orthodox Jewish group palling around with Mamdani. So I suspect that's who this is, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I would go with your assessment. I don't really know. It's just that it's shocking that 30% or so Jews voted for this guy.
Yeah, but most of them, their real religion is leftism.
Yeah.
They're really voting because they're Jews. They're voting because they're communists, and so they love this guy because he's one of them.
What family of Islam is he from?
He's an Ithno-Sheri, 12er Shiite. That's the official religion of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And so,
he's a 12er.
He is. And in the 12ers, the supreme leader of Iran and the mullahs, they order the Iranians in the mosques every Friday to chant death to America. And Khamenei, the supreme leader, has said, this is not just a slogan, it's a policy. It's the goal of our regime. And so I think, if we had reporters today, they should have been asking Mamdani, do you believe in death to America? Do you support that as an imperative? And get him to say something about it, and either to distance himself from the mullahs or endorse it. After all, we know the guy is a real Marxist. He's made that very clear, talking about seizing the means of production, and that clip from the victory speech that you played a minute ago about government having a role in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they hate America and want to destroy it. The 12er Shiites hate America and want to destroy it. And so nobody's asking him, but I think it's a real question. Does he want to destroy New York as a prelude to bringing down the whole thing?
Well, it seems to me like there's a through line. I mean, he was hanging out with that guy who was the unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing that killed 6 people. I mean, it's just like, who doesn't know that's a bad look?
Yeah. Well, see, he knows there's no political cost because most people won't know who Siraj Wahhaj is. They don't remember that there was a 1993 World Trade Center bombing. they don't have any idea of the implications of such an appearance. They just think it's just another photo op. That's what politicians do. But Siraj Wahhaj took the blind sheikh all around New York in 1993 and had him speak at mosques. And the blind sheikh, Omar Abdul Rahman, is still in prison today for masterminding the first attempt to bring down the World Trade Center in 1993. And that was the bombing you mentioned that 6 people were killed. He has also called for jihad in the United States, said the United States should have an Islamic government. His son, Siraj ibn Wahhaj, is in prison today for trying to start a jihad training camp in New Mexico where they wanted to train children to be school shooters.
Right. Oh, I've forgotten about that.
That's this guy's son. And so he knows, Mamdani knows, though, that anybody who says anything about that is going to just be called an Islamophobe and dismissed. And so he knows that the people who love Siraj Wahhaj will see that and say, Mamdani is okay. Sunnis who may hate Shia, they'll say, well, I'm going to vote for Mamdani. If Siraj Wahhaj likes him, then I like him. And at the same time, the other people, non-Muslims who don't know who he is, or leftists who might know but not care, it's no cost, no doubt.
Because everybody's dumb. They don't remember. They weren't alive. They don't care. Their parents didn't tell them, and they didn't learn about it in school. So how would they know? How would they know? I would also say that the 93 World Trade Center bombing, Rahman, who's the blind sheikh, who's on a supermax right now, I think, he also is related to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and helped conceive of the Operation Bojinka, which later became the attack on the World Trade Center, the capital, U.S. Capitol in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So there's a through line of real bad juju among these people, and these individuals here with respect to Zoran Mamdani. And how the hell he didn't know that, I have no idea. So I have to assume Daddy told him about it.
Yeah, you got to think so, because he is Daddy's boy. We have to also remember that Mamdani's father is a very well-known writer, a communist, and he wrote a book in 2005. I remember when this came out, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim, all about how 9/11 was America's fault, and we have to just give money to Muslims, and that will solve jihad, because they're just crying out, you see, they need help. And that's become the policy of the whole Western world. That's why we give aid, hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to the Palestinians. They kill 1,200 Israelis. We give them a few hundred million. We give Iran 10 billion. Twice Joe Biden did that. And it's because of Mahmoud Mamdani, Zohran's father, saying that the problem is the colonialism and the deprivation of the Islamic world. So if we relieve them economically, the jihad will go away.
Yeah.
And it's not true. But Mamdani, the mayor, has said how much his father and his mother, Mira Nair, the filmmaker, have influenced him. And they're both Marxists.
Well, here's what was going on in the streets of New York after the election.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is...
Just for a moment, who's torturing New York Islamists?
Yeah.
Rhetorical question, maybe?
This guy, that in the country he came from and any other Muslim country in the world, he's got it better in New York, and he's complaining about being tortured.
I want you to watch the rest of this because I know my audience probably hasn't, and maybe you have. I want you to hear about this.
Tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion.
This is for TikTok.
Religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Streets of America. What did he just say there? What does that mean?
Peace be Sallahu wa alayhi wasallam is peace be upon him.
Oh, that's nice.
You say that every time you say the name of a prophet. It's usually abbreviated as SWT when you write.
Right.
So you often see when you see Muhammad, it'll say SWT, which also could be PBUH, peace be upon him in English.
I see.
It's just a gesture of respect for the prophets that you say afterward. And earlier he said, La ilaha illallah wa Muhammadun Rasulullah. There's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. That saying that makes you a Muslim. Actually, I just became a Muslim because you say that in Arabic before witnesses and you're considered a Muslim. I actually did this once before. I was having lunch with
Wait a minute. Have we made news? Robert Spencer has just become a Muslim because he said that?
Yeah. I was showing off in 1981 or so, and I was in college and I was having lunch with this Muslim guy, and he was trying to convert me to Islam. And I was trying to show off to him that I could say it. So I said the Islamic profession of faith to him in Arabic. And he said, "Oh, you're a Muslim now." And I said, no, I'm not. I didn't mean it. I was just saying it. And he says, "It doesn't matter what you mean or think or anything. You said it. You said it in front of a Muslim witness. You're a Muslim." And this is, that's just how it works. But that guy in Times Square was doing that. And they were all repeating it with him. And saying we're going to bring that into every house in the country.
Is this kind of thinking compatible with Western civilization and governance in the United States of America?
No, not in the slightest degree, because Islam is political as well as religious. And this is what people don't understand and seem to refuse to understand, that when he says Islam is going to enter every house, it's not like I was a Methodist and I decided to become a Roman Catholic or something like that. It is a massive transformation that means not just that you become a Muslim, but that you become a supporter of a particular political program to impose Islamic law that is incompatible with the Constitution because it denies freedom of speech, denies the equality of rights of women with men, denies the equality of rights of non-Muslims with Muslims. It's deeply anti-Semitic, and all of these things are considered to be divine law, so they would supersede any provision to the contrary.
Deeply anti-Semitic. They call for the deaths of Jews. So yeah. There's no.
The Quran says the Jews are the worst enemies of the Muslim, and so they have to be fought against because the Muslims are the executors of Allah's wrath. The Bible says, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord, "I will repay." The Quran is just the opposite. It says, "Fight them and Allah will punish them by your hands."
Oh, great. So they have God's power then, or Allah's power?
Allah's punishing the Jews as well as whoever else the Muslims attack. But you see, when some guy is out stabbing random people on the street and screaming Allahu Akbar, or blowing up the World Trade Center, in any jihad, large or small, it's the punishment of Allah that he's bringing. It's not his act. Allah is punishing the unbelievers through him.
So there's no blame or any responsibility for that on that individual person for having done something contemptible and anti-human.
Oh no, doubly so. Not only it's not his act, but also it's not a bad act. It's not contemptible. In the Islamic view, well, I'll tell you, in the Quran, it also says paradise is guaranteed to those who kill and are killed for Allah. It's the only guarantee of paradise in the Quran. So, see, in Islam, they're the big scales in paradise. Your good deeds on one scale, your bad deeds on the other. And if your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, you go to paradise. If your bad deeds outweigh your good deeds, you go to hell. So how many good deeds have you committed?
Huh.
I've 14. And bad deeds, several thousand. But in all seriousness, nobody knows how many good deeds or bad deeds they've committed or how much each one weighs. And so this, if you're a believing Muslim, can drive you crazy and make you fear hell, which is very lavishly described in great detail in the Quran. So how do you avoid hell? Killing or killed. If you kill people and are killed in the process, then you will go straight to paradise.
Worst gang ever.
So there you go. That is actually the impetus for suicide bombing as well.
Sure. I don't know how much time you have, so I don't want to, take advantage, but remember the 72 virgin thing, and then there was a woman who came out and said it was actually a mistranslation and it meant 72 raisins. Can you shed? Yeah. What happened to that?
Okay. In the first place, it's not a mistranslation. The word is huris or whores.
Right.
In Arabic. I know.
Right. From which we get the word whore.
It's kind of opposite. It does fit very well. But the virgins of paradise are indeed the virgins of paradise in the Quran. And it's described, they got the big breasts and they're very beautiful and they're all of equal age. That is the traditions.
9.
They're 33, actually. They're all, that's all they're for. So it's just a big yellow in paradise. The thing about the raisins comes from the work of a scholar who uses the pseudonym Christoph Luxemburg. He's actually an Arab, but he uses this pseudonym because he'd be killed, obviously, if his work were under his own name. And he guards his identity very closely. But he has suggested that the Quran was not actually originally in Arabic at all, because you see Arabic, it's got 22 letters of the alphabet and 16 of them look just like other letters. And the only way you can tell many of the letters from other letters is by the dots that are above or below. The original Quran manuscripts, they got no dots.
Really?
So the text is actually a lot more variable than people think.
What do you think that the original language was?
Aramaic.
Yep. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's older material that was in Aramaic, a lot of it, that was put into Arabic and repointed to create a holy book for this new religion. But anyway, he suggests that a lot of the weird passages in the Quran, like just having paradise be a big bordello, they actually make sense in Aramaic more. That he says that these passages about the virgins are adapted from Christian writings by Saint Ephrem the Syrian, who's 4th century, and who wrote a lot of hymns. He's very famous as a hymnographer, and he describes heaven as like the Garden of Eden. And so he describes it as a garden full of all these wonderful fruits. And the word for grapes in Aramaic is the same as the word for the virgins with different dots. You see? Why people got the idea, this is a mistranslation and it's really grapes. It's not. In the Arabic, it's very clear, these heavenly prostitutes. But if you take out the Arabic pointing and put in Aramaic pointing, then it's clear that it's just a description of like an Edenic paradise of bountiful fruits and vegetables and such that Ephrem the Syrian or somebody like him was putting together that got adapted into this.
Was there anything thank you for that explanation, by the way. That's the best one I've heard at all. And I'm very happy to hear about the Aramaic writings because it came from the tribe of Ishmael, right? So it's like a different, they were all around there and speaking the same languages and writing whatever was available, whatever language was available to them. So it makes a lot of sense to me. What was the surprising thing that you found out about this guy as you wrote?
I couldn't help but like him. I got to admit, coming out of this after studying this guy and learning all about him. I have a certain I don't know, affection. Is that a good word? I mean, it's not like maybe that's the wrong word because people will get the wrong idea or something.
Oh. I mean, he's a likable enough guy on the outside, right?
He's very charming. I thought the best story about him was out of 7th grade, where he went to this very exclusive school because he went to only exclusive schools.
Sure.
He very privileged background. His
Sure.
parents were multimillionaires. He's had everything handed to him. He's just a perfect kind of communist in that regard, because the communists were all elitists who were millionaires, and it was only the people who suffered from their theories. And he's just the same way. But he went to this school, Bank Street School, and every presidential election, they had a very elaborate mock election where the 8th graders would divide into Republicans and Democrats and choose 2 presidential candidates. And the 7th graders would be like reporters, and the 6th graders would be campaign workers, and all the way down, and the whole school would be involved in this mock election. And so Mamdani was supposed to be in the 7th grade group, whatever it was. I don't know if I remember it exactly right. I know the 8th grade was the presidential candidates, but the lower grades, I don't remember exactly. But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to run for president. So he actually finagled with the administration of the school that he was able to run as an independent. And he won the election. And
he's a natural.
He's very clever. He's a good operator. He knows how to game the system. And he did it again Tuesday.
Yeah, he did. And then on Wednesday, he was out on a TikTok asking for everybody to send their money again.
Well, of course, what communists do. They live off everybody else's money, and they live high. He said, do you know he had 3 wedding receptions? He got married last February in New York, and so he had a small reception there with his friends. But then he went to Dubai, where his wife's family is from, had a big elaborate reception in Dubai, and then he went to Kampala, where his family is from, had another reception. His family, even though his father is a professor at Columbia and his mother is a multimillionaire filmmaker, they still have a big, nice house in Kampala, Uganda, in an exclusive area of the city where the very rich live. And he had his 3rd reception there amid heavy guards, the defund the police guy.
The defund the police guy with heavy guards. One last thing. He seems like a likable guy, but here's Van Jones weighing in on a speech
that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. Mm-hmm. And I think that Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior, even in office?
All of the above. And then so Van Jones was upset. I'm not going to play all of it, but
I don't, like I say, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It's not like I support this guy or like.
Oh, I never thought that for 1 second. By the way, Van Jones, a fellow traveler with Zoran Mamdani.
But it was deceptive right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We told him that. We both wrote about him at PJ Media. Other people did. We could have told Van Jones, this guy is not as charming as he seems. This guy is going to change as soon as he gets elected and implement a very ugly and destructive agenda. But that's how the left always works. They promise the world. They tell you they're going to work for justice and for the little guy, and then they get in and crush everybody. And this is what he's going to do as well.
And there's going to be flight. 765,000 people said they'd leave if he got elected. Mm-hmm. And I sure hope they cast a ballot before they leave town, but it doesn't look like they did they?
Not 765. I mean, I guess, yeah, you could say technically that Cuomo got more votes than that. And so I guess they did. It was a tough thing, though. I mean, if I still lived in New York City at this point, I don't know. I guess I would have voted for Curtis Sliwa, but I would have known that was throwing the vote away.
Sure.
Voting for Cuomo is very tough.
Yeah.
If you're a patriot and not a lunatic, how could you vote for a Cuomo? It's just incredible.
Right. Yeah, I wonder why Sliwa didn't pull out. Probably because he thought he was the only reasonable choice. But a lot of people, since it's, 97% leftist in New York, he was not going to get their votes unless they just really detested the commie. But apparently not. They voted him in. So
huge ego, and also probably some sort of animus against Andrew Cuomo, because Sliwa spent all his time attacking Cuomo and not Mamdani. And so people were even criticizing him toward the end about that and asking, well, what's going on here? Are you on Mamdani's payroll? Which I think is a reasonable question.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I can't imagine Curtis Sliwa doing that, but you never know. I mean, it does leave things open to interpretation. The book is Intifada on the Hudson, The Selling of Zoran Mamdani. I keep doing that, by Robert Spencer, my guest today on the Adult in the Room podcast. And thank you so much, Robert. I appreciate it. And
talking with you, Victoria. Thank you.
Yeah, your work is always appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah. So there we go. All right. Wasn't that interesting? And it does make you wonder why people don't understand, or maybe they do and they just don't get it. But what I see coming out of this whole thing that Robert and I spoke about was the need to redouble our efforts at teaching history, because our kids aren't getting it. In fact, people like Zoran Mamdani and people who agree with him are being venerated in the classrooms. The teachers are far leftists. The unions who run the teachers and run the schools are far leftists. They're the ones in charge. And now, of course, as mayor coming up in January, Zoran Mamdani is also going to be in charge of the schools. That's under the portfolio of the city. So he's in charge. And in Manhattan, that's what happens. They're government schools. Oh, by the way, there's going to be government free childcare, and you're going to have free buses. Does anybody take the bus there? I mean, I don't even know. He never said anything about the ferries, free Staten Island ferries or something. I don't know. It's just it's an open question. It's an open question. So, Gal, I had so much to share with you today, and of course, I hogged Robert Spencer's time. So don't hate me for doing that. I just really appreciate him. He's the guy who wrote, he's written 34 books. So he's the guy who wrote the politically incorrect guide, the politically incorrect guide to Islam and the Crusades. It's got to get your hands on that one. It is absolutely hilarious. I mean, because I don't know. Wait a minute. So they're coming to take over, and the Christians aren't supposed to fight back? Oh, okay. Tell us how that works exactly. Now, first, then, as I started coming on the program with our technical issues, which were my technical issues, I wanted to let you know and reiterate what happened in Portland today. And let's see. I'm going to share it with you. Here we go. It is the rules changes by the feds in Portland. We've covered the ICE Antifa battles for several weeks since they've, I've gone down there and seen it for myself. I just wanted to make sure I could see it for myself, because the city of Portland, of course, was downplaying the fact that this was a no-go zone and it was run by Antifa, and they allowed Antifa to camp on the sidewalks, which is against their rules, and also to direct traffic in front of the ICE facility, which is a national security problem. Okay, so they instigated some rules that were going to go into effect in January, but they're no longer going to into effect in January. They're going to effect now. Prohibited conduct. One more time. Antifa will no longer be able to wear masks. They will no longer be able to wear costumes like Teletubby costumes. They will no longer be able to be drunk or impaired while on or close to the ICE facility. They will not be able to camp out. There are all kinds of things which they cannot do and will pass as a presumption of guilt, not guilt like in a court of law, but being able to suspicious behavior and arrestable. Buy Antifa. I mean, doesn't that pretty much, no noisemakers, no fart machines. It's all here. They don't say fart machines, but they go noxious odors. Noxious, loud or unusual noises or noxious odors. And by the way, the feds aren't doing that for themselves. They're doing that for the neighbors who have not gotten a decent night's sleep since June 7th, okay? Yeah. Okay. A couple other things I want to cover before we go. And I want to make sure I get this correct. So Proposition 50 passed this past Tuesday. Proposition 50 is the thing that is likely unconstitutional. It is being tested in the courts. There have already been lawsuits filed because it's unconstitutional. And it doesn't represent necessarily the people in California, but it represents the different congressional district line drawing in other states. So it's a direct retaliation for other states doing a mid-decade checking out who's there, and making sure, and then drawing the appropriating the lines properly. What do you call it? Anyway, drawing the lines, congressional lines. So Proposition 50. Correction. I just want to go back to those other guys' lines based on their population. Based on their population, not California's, their population. Because everybody's moving out of blue states. That's why California is going to lose, if the population is any indication, is going to lose as many as 5 congressional seats by 2030, I think it is. And so what they wanted to do was they wanted to counteract Texas's numbers, which are based on population and voting in Texas, not California. And California is doing it to counteract those moves in other states. That's unconstitutional. It's not representative. They may have the right to do it. And of course, the voters said, oh, okay, I'll do that. The voters believe 90% that a separate organization that is objective can redraw the district lines in the state of California. They've just voted on Tuesday of this week to get rid of those rules and have Gavin Newsom and the Democrats redraw the districts. And of course, they want to get rid of all their bête noirs like Kevin Kiley and that sort of thing, the other people. They're trying to eke out 7 new congressional districts for Democrats out of Republican districts. Now, the reason I bring it up again is this reason. I'm going to share this. See this? This is from the 2021 California election, 2022 California election, but this harkens back to 2021 right here. And it's this. There are at that time, before the entire Joe Biden spigot allowed in as many as 20 million new illegal aliens into the country. So before that happened, in California, there were 1.8 million ineligible persons registered to vote in California. This is according to our friends over at the Election Integrity Project California. We spoke to the director of that organization in a couple weeks ago, episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. So you have to understand, they have a whole huge population of people. Excuse me. Wow. Excuse me. Sorry. Allergies. I've got to do something about this studio. There's something going on in here. Okay. So they have all of these people who are on the voter rolls. Okay. Now check this out. How are they going to know if those people are illegally here when they went back and changed where those people were born? And we brought this up in that particular episode with the Election Integrity Project California. And you'll notice people from Afghanistan, 116 people from Afghanistan are now designated on California voter rolls starting in 2020 as Californians. Their birthplace is all changed to California. You can't find people as to whether or not they are legal in the country. Furthermore, if they are legal voters in the country under these conditions. Look at this. Ireland, they got 40 Irish, probably more now. The Isle of Man, one guy, I've seen the Isle of Man before when I was in Ireland a couple of years back. And there it was. And I just like, oh, wow, there's the Isle of Man. I'm just bragging. I just got to see it from far away. Italy, 60 people, 223 people from Japan. And how many people from China? 5 gazillion. China, 875. So they're probably the tops of the list. No, that's not true. 1920 from people from Oregon came to California. You've got to have your head examined if you're going to do that. I mean, having lived in all 3 West Coast states, I can tell you that things on the other West Coast states are not any better than California. And California's prettier. So, I mean, I grew up in Portland, so it's very pretty there. I'm not going to disparage how beautiful it is there, but there we are. Okay, let's see what else I wanted to. Oh, and this is why I bring it up. So now you've seen the different ways in which they hide and allow people who are illegally in this country to get registered to vote and that sort of thing. And now you see how much they've spent on healthcare and other kinds of free stuff for illegal aliens. The California Department of Finance, the state of California, will spend $8.4 billion this year on free stuff for illegal aliens. $8.4 billion. I've seen lower estimates, but this came from California's own numbers, the budget committee. Friends, you cannot have spending of this massive nature without busting the budget. And it's the reason this $8.4 billion number is the reason why we have a government shutdown right now. And the Democrats think that they're going to, because everybody wants the government to come open, but now the Democrats have all this new quan from the Tuesday election, and they go, oh, we're just going to go ask for the moon. We want all of the illegal aliens covered for the coming fiscal year. And Trump and company got hired with this mandate to not do that, to have these kinds of freebies left to people who are legally in the United States, who qualify, and for the citizens. Not for people who just came under Joe Biden's program. 8.4, that's in California only. The budget clash going on in Washington, D.C. is a direct result of states like California, Illinois, and others, New York, spending their money on illegal aliens and welcoming these people into their states as sanctuary states. And now they want to be bailed out, and they want you to do it. That's what this is about. That's what this government shutdown's about. And it seems to me that the president and the John Thune, who's the majority leader for the Senate, had better understand what's at stake. I'm sure they do, but I don't want them to, do anything else. Wait, were we not seeing what I was just showing? Shoot. Oh, that's a bummer. Share this tab instead. Yeah. Did you see this? All these people whose whose birthplaces has now been changed in California law, in the California records, as being from California when they're from Afghanistan. We don't know if they're legally here or not. And here's another one, just to make sure you see it. Here's the tab that has 1.8 million ineligible persons registered to vote. This is as of 2021. So it's even bigger now because, of course, Joe's kids came, which is 20 million people. Some people believe it's that many people. And then we have this one. $8.4 billion this year on healthcare for illegal aliens in California. That is unsustainable. Even with the largest state in the union, California, most populous state, California. They can't afford that. People are moving because they can't afford the taxes. And they want a bailout from the feds that would be you, who live in other states, other sanctuaries, or other states, period. Fiscally responsible people. And if you think that people in who here illegally who aren't voting, I've got friends. It's pretty eye-popping, right? It's just astonishing. Just seriously astonishing. So we've got a big problem. We've got a really big problem. And it is hanging tough. People are not being paid right now. People are not receiving benefits, the SNAP program benefits to the extent that they get any. And now because of that election, I think they were able to talk about affordability in a better way than Donald Trump has. And now Donald Trump goes, okay, I get the message. I'm telling you now, all the stuff that I've been doing for the past 24/7, 9 months, I'm going to tell you what that means to you, even more than he already has. I thought it was pretty obvious what was going on, but hey, I'm not the messaging guy. I'm not that. But if there was one more thing I wanted to show you before we go. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Here's the mayor.
I think he missed a chance tonight to.
No, sorry. Get away there. I just removed that. I don't know why it played. Here we go. Because I've pretty much gotten everything here. Here's the mayor who has been elected, who's in the country illegally.
The mayor of Coldwater accused of election fraud. The charges come hours after he secured a second term in office. Attorney General Chris Kobach charged Mayor Jose Joe Ceballos with 6 felonies, 3 counts each of voting without being qualified.
Okay, let me just say, he's not illegally in the country. I misspoke. It's the other mayor who just got elected. She's illegally in the country. Anyway, so, oh yes, there's many. So Jose here, Mayor Jose Ceballos, in the country legally voting, but he's not legal to vote.
And election perjury. Kobach claims Ceballos is lawfully living in the U.S., but is a citizen of Mexico, making him ineligible to vote. The AG.
Okay, so because in the interest of time, I'm going to send that packing. Let me say one more thing. There is a through line from people who have allowed that to happen, not checking registrations against the files that are available from the feds, like the Social Security database. This is what they're saying in Washington, D.C. in the Trump administration. They are saying, hey, you've got to be able to compare your voter rolls against the legal in this country rolls that we have. Okay? And they don't want to. Oregon has gone to the mattresses to stop this. They are suing the feds so they don't have to do this. California, same thing. And that's where the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ is going to go in there and go, oh no, we want to see these records, because they don't want to show them the records. Because you know what they're going to find? A hell of a lot of people who are not allowed to vote. And why does this matter? Of course it matters because it dilutes your vote. Yeah, that's right. Your vote is diluted two ways: by them voting maybe against your interest illegally and getting counted in the census, because congressional districts are made and comprised of people, not citizens. We need to change that. We need to change that to citizens. You should not get congressional representation. I'm sure you would get it, but not in terms of how many people you represent, because then that dilutes everybody's representation. If you count illegal people in the country illegally in that congressional district, then you have diluted my vote. My son-in-law came legally to this country. And I can only imagine, although I haven't talked to him about that because he's working so ding dong hard, but I have to believe that he would be concerned that, hey man, I did everything right. How come people get the vote, people get free stuff or whatever? I'm working my butt off. How is that? And my taxes go to help these guys and pay for the free stuff. It's all about this blue state stuff. Sanctuary states overspending, enjoying their moment with all that free cash that they're hoping you'll supply to keep the grift going on. And finally, Nancy Pelosi is going to retire in a year, which is not soon enough. It should have been 12 years ago. Okay. The important thing here, the reason we're doing this is because, well,
we have to do this in partnership, and I wanted to bring you up to date on where we see it from here. The final healthcare legislation that will soon be passed for Congress will deliver successful reform at the local level. I'm paid for investment.
Yeah, she's going to say it pays for itself, and it does great things for healthcare. It's just done nothing but destroy it. I'm going to send her up a little bit more here, because this is the part you need to remember. She and her Democrat Party did this to us without one Republican vote, without one. On, I think it was Christmas Eve.
It's not something that you have to pay a deductible for or out of pocket. That prevention. It's about diet, not diabetes. It's going to be very, very exciting.
They hate Maha now.
Pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it away from the fog of the controversy.
We have to pass the bill so you can finally see it. I don't think we've fully appreciated what's in that bill to this day. Okay, so that's it. A lot of news this week. I'll be back on Tuesday. Got a special guest on Tuesday, former Portland Antifa member, and that should be interesting, right? Yeah, he was jumped into the cult, and so we'll talk about that. But in the meantime, hey, head up, heart out, and strive to be the adult in the room. Mischief managed. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter, when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at You guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.